fear of the fear itself. There was once a young bird who stood at the edge of its nest, high in the branches of an old tree. Below it, the world stretched wide, beautiful, vast, and unknown. The wind called to its wings, but fear whispered louder. What if I fall? What if I'm not ready? Day after day, it looked over the edge, but clung to the safety of the nest. Not because it didn't want to fly, but because it was afraid of the fear it might feel in free fall. And yet one morning something changed. The fear was still there, but so was the quiet voice of something deeper. You were not made to stay in the nest forever. And with trembling wings, the bird leapt. It did not rise at first, but it didn't fall either. It discovered what it could only know in motion, that it had always been meant to fly. On the path to transcending the self, there's an impulse that quietly cripples the enlightened walker. Fear. Fear is ancient. It lives in our DNA, born to protect us. Once it kept us safe from real danger. But now it rises not for survival, but when we face the unknown, the uncertain, the uncomfortable. It no longer guards us from death. It guards us from growth, marking its place in the energetic field of the awakened being we have yearned to become. Fear becomes an uncontrollable vigor, wrapping us in a straitjacket, stripping the soul of its freedom. A myriad of questions stir the mind into a storm. Where's the line we crossed that left us restrained, held by something outside ourselves, as if under a spell we did not cast? How do we find ourselves at the point where we can no longer breathe freely? Is this where we're meant to be? Or must we erase the self that submits and rise into a place of spiritual regency? There's a silence that follows fear, a hush after the trembling heart, a stillness that asks us to listen, not to the roar of danger, but to something deeper, the echo of our own soul, recoiling from shadows it does not yet understand. We're not haunted by monsters, but our imagination of their return. Fear is more than a reaction. It's a mirror, a trigger that awakens the old self. The ego, bound by its familiar patterns, clings to what it knows. And so we unveil an old adage. We're not only afraid of danger, we're afraid of fear itself. This is secondary. Fear is more paralyzing than the first. It binds us to emotional memories, a haunting sense of déjà vu, or rather, déjà vu, a return to a self we thought we'd left behind. It becomes a suffocating blanket of seclusion, quietly smothering the breath of becoming. Wayfarer, free yourself. Step inward, not to banish fear, but to understand its place on the soul's inner path. Be aware, the mind magnifies fear. We fear the feeling of fear before it even arises. This is the trap of anticipation, the illusion that discomfort is unbearable. And so we begin to avoid our dreams, our truth, our love. We mistake safety for peace, but real peace is born of courage. The fear of fear is the ego's attempt to keep control. We stop trying to escape fear. Instead, we learn to walk beside it, like holding the hand of a child. Fear can be felt without being followed. When acknowledged, it begins to shrink. Faith is not the absence of fear, it's the willingness to walk with it in trust. Fear is not our enemy, it's a knock on the door of awareness. Yes, it comes to warn, but also to awaken. Beneath every tremble lies a message, a truth we resist, a path we avoid, a wound we have yet to heal. What if we stopped running and sat with it as we would with a teacher? Fear often arrives when we're closest to growth. Its presence marks the threshold of transformation. It's not fear itself that binds us, but the fear of feeling fear. We dread vulnerability so deeply that we build lives of limitation, silencing dreams before they speak, avoiding love before it stirs, turning back from thresholds that might have led us home. The fear of fear is the ego's last stand. It wants certainty, but the soul thrives in surrender. If we cannot cast fear away, we can walk beside it, to hold it gently like a child, not to obey it, but to understand it. When brought into the light, fear softens. It loses its sharpness, and in that softening, it reveals our courage. In every inner journey, fear walks beside faith, but only one leads. Let us not fear fear. Let us meet it with open eyes, knowing it comes not to destroy us, but to shape us. Each time we move through it, we're reborn. The soul does not grow in comfort. It grows in the confrontation with what it once believed it could not face. And in that quiet, trembling confrontation, we remember who we are. Fear is not the end. It's the beginning of awakening. With every step through fear, we step deeper into ourselves. The soul expands not in safety, but in the strength of awareness. We were not created to live in hiding. We were created to live in truth, even when that truth trembles.